This is going to be big for the Atlanta Hawks. The February 6th trade deadline is vastly approaching. It can't get here any quicker, but I have some information that is going to be big. Plus, the Atlanta Hawks got the win versus the Suns, 122-117, back at home, but unfortunately, they're back on the road again tonight, taking on another opponent, and I've got to say it's going to be another tough stretch, 3-game stretch that the Atlanta Hawks have got to go through before returning back home. But besides all of that, what's going on, everybody? My name is Walter Pollard, and this is Atlanta Hawks Digest. I am excited, and I'm happy to see you guys today because the news that I have for you guys is going to be dope. Also, I got to talk about the similarities between 2021 and now, basically. There's some similarities with that, and I definitely want to kind of poke your brains to see where you guys are feeling. Also, too, I want to thank everybody for the comments and the conversations going on between different guys in the different guys and gals in the comment section. So definitely thank you for all of that. Want to keep it going. And again, with this information, I want to see what I can do as far as getting you guys stoked and ready for what's going to basically come, for the Atlanta Hawks. Because again, February 6th is on its way, and there is a big trade coming. I said that there's a trade imminent, okay? And I said this back at the beginning of the season, but this is going to be big. But before we get into all that, we got to talk about last night's game versus the Suns. Listen, man, I was really excited seeing how this game went last night. And really, we got to highlight 2 players that definitely stepped up for the Atlanta Hawks. But really, just right now, just talking about the game, man, 3 players, of course, were on the injured list. Of course, that's Jalen Johnson, Kobe Buffkin, of course, he's out for the season, and Larry Nance. But then before the game, DeAndre Hunter somehow shows up that he's not going to be playing in the game. He somehow injured himself during shoot-around. So, of course, unfortunately, he was unable to play in last night's victory versus the Suns. Also, too, another thing I wanted to point out was just the way that these guys went back and forth. And I'm talking about Trae Young and Kevin Durant. Midway through the game, I guess. Well, I was listening to the game on 92.9 The Game, so definitely shouts out to those guys. I was listening to Steve Holman and Dominique Wilkins, and they were talking about the game, but I was noticing how back and forth KD and Trey Young had gone back and forth. They just kept going back and forth, shot for shot, heat check after heat check. And even so, they were like literally neck and neck, 35 and 35 points. But man, Trey Young, listen, that guy is a bad man, okay? That guy is a bad man. Give it up for Trey Young because, of course, this guy, he showed up major for the Atlanta Hawks. 43 points off of 38 minutes. The guy was 13 for 31 from field, from the field. He was 6 for 12 on his three-pointers. He was 11 for 14 from his free throws, of course. And I said this before with Trey Young. When his production offensively goes up, when his numbers go up, his assists unfortunately go down. Trey only had, 5 assists last night, 3 steals, though. Of course, to see the Dyson Daniel effect is definitely kicking everybody else up and, getting their game up. So that's awesome and very impressive. But big shout out to Trey Young for hitting 43 points last night. That was a really good game on his end. And again, shouts out to Onyeka Okongwu, again, for his performance last night, because this dude, listen, 21 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 22 points. And this is all coming off of the bench. This is the first time that it has ever happened in Hawks history. So major shouts out to Onyeka Okongwu for just showing up last night and definitely giving that presence off of the bench. Big shout out also, and this is a dark horse that I want to talk about, Garrison Matthews. Garrison Matthews, he gets honorable mention for last night's game because this dude, 27 minutes off of the bench, 19 points. Get this, he was 5 for 8 from three-point land. And I was wondering why, the Hawks wouldn't necessarily go to him often early, but when he was making them, he was making them. And after a while, they had no choice but to feed him the rock. So major shouts out to the Atlanta Hawks getting the win over OKC. Not OKC, I'm sorry. But getting the win over the Phoenix Suns, which I'm impressed. I'm happy. I said that they will possibly do so because, again, coming back home, getting back home is definitely a big thing. I'm noticing when teams go on the road, that is a big deal. Some people's routines are off. Sometimes their things just go wonky. And of course, it's great that the Atlanta Hawks got the win last night. Now, going on the road, they start on the road tonight versus Chicago, and it is not going to get any tougher after Chicago. I'm pretty sure they go up to Boston, and then after Boston, they finish off with another rivalry versus the New York Knicks. So, of course, the Atlanta Hawks go back on the road for a 3-game stretch. Hopefully we can have a better showing than we did when it was the West Coast tour. When, of course, I think we showed up, what was it? Well, on that tour, I think they went 2-4. They went 2-4 on that 6-game stretch. So with that being said, I definitely want to make sure that the Atlanta Hawks are definitely in the right position while going on the road. The game starts tonight at 8 o'clock. And yes, the Atlanta Hawks definitely would like some get back because, of course, the Chicago Bulls did give the Atlanta Hawks their first loss in the NBA Cup. So, of course, the Atlanta Hawks would definitely like to get some get back. Now, something else I wanted to talk about with you guys was this thing that I came across was 2021. I oftentimes talk about how we want to get the Atlanta Hawks back into that mode. You know what I mean? We want to get them back into that winning situation, John Collins, Trae Young, and all the different guys on the team. We wanted to get those guys back on track. But I feel like nowadays it seems as if those two teams aren't that far off. Okay, let's take a trip really quickly back to 2021. We remember how Lloyd Pierce was the head coach, having a little bit of issues with Trey Young, going back and forth. This young guy who was fiery, who we knew was a superstar, a rising superstar, but for some reason there was an issue or something wasn't clicking between him and Lloyd Pierce. Then, of course, Lloyd Pierce then gets fired. Once Lloyd Pierce is fired, and this is coming off of a 14-20 disappointing first half of the season. But Lloyd Pierce gets fired, and then they bring in Nate McMillan. Nate McMillan comes in. The Hawks have an incredible run in the second half of the season, then go on to get a first. I think they were in the first round, and then they just kept going all the way into the Eastern Conference Finals. Unfortunately, they lost to the eventually lost to the NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks. But I really feel as though, thankfully, the Hawks aren't in the same situation from 2021, if you can remember. But thankfully, we're not in that same situation. As a matter of fact, right now, the Hawks are 20-19, one game above 500, which is sort of on par for where they were around that time. 6 games better. So they're not far off. But the thing that I wanted to basically pinpoint is that the Atlanta Hawks did something. They did something about their current situation. They were good enough, and we could see how good they were, but they needed something to be done in order to make that next step. And, of course, that came in the form of them firing their coach, Lloyd Pierce, and upgrading Nate McMillan, because Nate McMillan was, of course, was an assistant coach on that squad. But they did something. And so I bring this up. And I've had Onyeka Okongwu on for a minute. Sorry, Onyeka, but they did something. Now, of course, I've been talking about the trades and the trade potentials. I just talked about trades yesterday. So, of course, we know that there's going to be a trade possibly coming. But could there possibly be a chance that the Hawks could trade for Colin Sexton? Huh? I mean, it doesn't seem as bad as I would say I thought it would have been prior to, when I first saw it, but of course, Colin Sexton will be traded to the Atlanta Hawks in exchange for Kobe Buffkin, Larry Nance Jr., 2025 first-round pick via the Minnesota Timberwolves. So that is a pick that the Atlanta Hawks have from the Timberwolves that they can dish off, and a 2030 first-round pick as well. Trey Young is, for a very long time, has been the offensive threat for the Atlanta Hawks, the offensive threat. Colin Sexton offers somewhat of a relief for Trey Young. Colin Sexton is scrappy. He's good defensively. Right now, he's registering 18 points as a starter for the Utah Jazz. So again, there's a lot of good things that can come from bringing Colin Sexton in. And then you add all of the young talent that we have. Risacher is only 19. Dyson Daniels is only 21. You have a lot of other players that are in their early 20s. And Colin Sexton is around 26 years old. He has some NBA experience. So this could be a good trade. That could possibly be a good trade. And again, like I said, if this goes down, if this is something that actually could happen, this would be huge. And this isn't the first time that I've seen something like this. I saw somebody in the comments saying that they wanted to see Walker Kessler and Colin Sexton come to the Atlanta Hawks. So I'm not sure if we would have to do any more work, add some other picks or other people to that. You know what I mean? They could possibly add Cody Zeller to that. But this could possibly be a really good trade. You answer the call for a second guy that can back up Trey Young, get some points, and keep the team afloat. And then on top of that, you have somebody that, well, yeah, I already said it. He offers Trey Young. That's the main point. He offers Trey Young a bit of relief because he should not be the only guy that scores on this team. And again, we got other guys coming back. Jalen Johnson will be back shortly. Of course, DeAndre Hunter has just been stepping up for the Atlanta Hawks. So you add that along with all of the young talent that the Atlanta Hawks have, the sky is the limit for this team. And again, something is going to happen. I can feel it because, again, you see the similarities between 2021 and now. Something can possibly happen. I feel as though something should and will happen. But with all that being said, my name is Walter Pollard, and this is Atlanta Hawks Digest. I'll see you guys on the other side of tonight's game versus the Chicago Bulls. Peace.